Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and Dave Duncan. Dave, how you doing?
I am alive. I haven't popped from the turkey yet.
Yes, today we are recording on Thanksgiving Day.
We work hard for you.
We do. Very hard, especially with all the food we just ate. I can't believe we're actually talking. Dave, we are on Star Trek Discovery, the episode Unification Part 3, and this is Season 3 of Discovery, Episode 7, and it aired November 26, 2020.
They haven't earned
Dave,
that yet. They haven't even done Only Hope Part 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was for. Dave, what do you, non-spoilers, real quick takeaways. Anything about this episode?
I don't know how to talk about this episode with spoilers because one of the things I'm most proud of is definitely a spoiler, I think. This show's inching towards the thing we've been complaining about, ensemble cast. This episode was definitely Michael heavy, but it was also kind of like a bottle episode. They were basically just on the ship the entire time. So, I mean, we had the opportunity to see our other characters slightly more often than we have been. So that was nice. I will give that thought. It's hard to say anything else without going into specifics. How about you?
Actually, so this episode, heavy Michael Burnham episode, but I actually liked it for a lot of reasons. I was saying before we started recording, I think this kind of vindicated some of the thoughts I had and feelings I had about Michael Burnham that I talked about in our last podcast, how she believes in the Federation, but she doesn't feel like she's connected, and she has a hard time connecting with her Discovery crewmates and utilizing them and relying on them. She seems to circumvent them constantly, and she talks about this, and it brings it all into like focus during this episode, and I think it gives a better picture of Michael's character than I think we've ever gotten before. Maybe it's more mapped out finally for me.
And I think we get some resolution in this episode, much needed resolution in this episode. So I'm hoping the rest of the season going forward can be less drama-y. I hope.
Yeah,
I feel like
I agree. Yeah, I like that we got like sort of things are getting kind of like tied up here, and I hope that it is tied up, especially on Michael's side of things.
That's what I mean. I'm hoping we'll get a lot less Michael drama. I think this episode hopefully has wrapped up her melancholy for this season, and they can go forward and do Star Trek stuff, and it feels like Star Trek. I'm hoping this is what we're going to get going forward.
Yeah, but there's, to me, a lot of interesting nuance of revelations that go on during this this episode that answers some questions and also kind of maps out some new ideas, which I'm excited to talk about. So let's get into full spoilers, Dave.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we find out that they coordinate all the stuff with the black box that they use. So Tilly triangulates with some other data that they had, and apparently this kind of like confirms Michael Burnham's theory that the burn didn't happen all at once. It originated from a different spot.
To a human being, it happened all at once. I don't care about a trillionth of a microsecond. I mean, like, how can you even measure something that small? How does that even make any difference?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting though. So, and then Tilly say that they can triangulate, but the space is just too big. It would take multiple lifetimes to go over the area space to find this area.
In 2-dimensional space, you can triangulate. In 3-dimensional space, you need more than 3 points of data.
Yeah. So they bring this thing to Admiral Vance, this information, and Admiral Vance is like, yeah, let's look more into it, but we need to get some information from the Vulcans. The Vulcans have this program that
Looks
they
like
were
it's the
using...
Delta Quadrant slingshot technology.
Yeah, is that what it was?
It's what it looked like. The same thing that was in the Borg in the Queen's chamber that just like shoots you, wherever. It's like the warp slingshot.
Right.
The thing that Tuvok tried to like take and then it failed or whatever. In Voyager.
Yeah, I mean they were looking for this thing that they were trying. I guess dilithium was in short supply.
I still don't understand the way they're using dilithium in the show. Dilithium isn't fuel. Like they're talking about it like it's fuel. It's not though. I mean, did they have that many ships, or there just isn't enough dilithium?
Well, I'm assuming if they can't get dilithium, they can't go any further. So
yeah, but I mean, they're treating it like it's fuel. Like you when you fly around the ship, you expend it. Yeah, it's like they treat it like gas, and like it's not gas. You don't expend it by going to warp. It focuses the reaction of the warp thing.
This is a experimental project called SB-19, and the Vulcans were trying to find a different way to use, instead of using a warp drive, that they could travel thousands of light years in an instant. And something went wrong with that, and the Vulcans at this time, which kind of ties into Picard now, have made friends with the Romulans and have been reunified.
And
so we get this. It's
called Navarre now.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, I felt a little like weird about it at first, but I was like, as much I love Vulcans, I love Vulcan, but I always felt weird that Roddenberry or whoever came with the idea named Vulcan after the Roman god and Romulus after the Roman hero or whatever, founder of Rome.
Yeah.
I always thought that was weird that he did that. It's like, why would you just come up with something different? But anywho, Navarre doesn't bother me so much. And it's kind of cool. They renamed the planet, and they're all living together on one planet. So it's like a huge development, and we get to see Spock from the original Unification 1 and 2 from Next Gen, how they like a recording of him talking, and Michael looking at her brother, now an older man, and kind of talking about his mission in life to bring the Romulans and the Vulcans back together again, reunify them. And he was ultimately successful to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, they said it was hundreds of years after he died, but yes, his efforts brought him together.
But he started that movement, and that movement slowly went along. So, but the Vulcans, unfortunately, and I suppose the Romulans as well, felt that they were the ones who started the burn from doing this SB-19, and they're very protective, very secretive about that experiment, and they feel like it's politically charged on their planet, and they feel that the Federation was using them during that time, and they're sour grapes, basically. They're bitter towards the Federation, and they left the Federation, which is unthinkable that the Federation would be without Vulcans.
Yeah, considering they were a founding member, but apparently there was a bunch of issues between the Federation and Vulcan, and this was the last straw. So, I mean, it's an interesting setup, although when they get to Vulcan, they deny them the SB-13 intro because of what you said, and because they're scared Starfleet will use it and try to revamp the program. But they could have just said, oh yeah, no, Starfleet doesn't care about using that. They're just going to just copy your spore drive technology. Like, why hasn't this come up yet? Like, it seems like they should just be adapting Discovery technology to their ships and forget about the lithium. Mm-hmm. And that would have, I'm sure that would have been a huge weight off of Vulcan's mind. If they're scared SB-13 caused the burn, why not just oh, no, we're not going to use it for that. We just want to understand what the data is. We're using a different propulsion technology. We're going to make Discovery's propulsion technology standard throughout the fleet. I mean, would make the most sense. I mean,
it would make the most sense. Yeah,
you would dissuade their fear, and probably make them way more receptive I guess you wouldn't have the episode if they would just handed it to them at the beginning. But still, it just was like, I've got questions. Why aren't we pursuing? Why isn't Discovery? And the Admiral said they're trying to keep the Discovery's propulsion system a secret from most people, but then they tell the Vulcans, who are not even part of the Federation anymore.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're even keeping it secret from other Starfleet people. Like, it seems like it's hush-hush still. Like, I'm confused why this is.
Yeah, they're a bit of a secret weapon at the moment, which, sooner or later people will all know. So the Admiral decides that, send Discovery, tell him that Michael Burnham is coming. Spock's sister is coming back to Vulcan, or Ninvar.
She sees you when you're sleeping. She knows when you're awake.
Hurry, Michael Burnham's back. Look busy, people.
She's coming to town.
She'll solve all our problems. Don't worry. So that, and then we get a couple other developments. We also find out that Saru asked Tilly to be her first officer.
She's real timid about it.
She's an ensign.
Why doesn't he promote her? Does he not have that ability? I'm so confused. Why would you make an ensign your number one? So second in command in position, but still the bottom of the line in rank. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Why wouldn't Stamets? Why wouldn't?
I mean, at least promote her to lieutenant, so at least she outranks someone on the ship.
Yeah, I honestly don't have a problem with Tilly being. I think she should be promoted. Obviously,
I think she should be promoted too. I think Tilly's gonna be a great first officer. I mean, she's got guts, and she was trying to get the command program anyway. And it's just kind of like, because Captain Killy from the Mirror Universe, I'm like, oh no, like this is working even more into my Saru's gonna die this season thing. Or like Saru's gonna die, and then since she's number one, she gets a field promotion directly from ensign to captain.
That's a bit of a jump. That's a bit of a jump in pay grade.
I know, but I mean, Killy, 2 years ago was already a captain in the Mirror Universe. Our Tilly's lagging behind. She's got to catch up, and the best way to catch up is field promotion.
I guess. And what does what's his name from Discover? Voyager feel about this?
Harry Kim? Yeah,
Harry Kim. Yeah.
Son of a bitch! I can't
believe
this.
It's bullshit.
Ensign is the second in command of the ship. What the fuck?
What the fuck, Janeway?
It's amazing.
Yeah. So that is a developing thing, and like you said, she's unsure. Saru says, "I'll give you like a day to think about it." So they travel to Vulcan, or Nivar, sorry. And when they dial up the president of Vulcan, she basically denies their request for the SB-19 and says it's a topic that's very politically sensitive for the planet. And Michael Burnham then says, "I understand that, but I invoke the Tikal in Ket, which is I don't know what to call it. It's like a deep inquiry, but it's kind of just like a trial, like a court case."
It's a trial. It's not a birthday party this time.
Once it's invoked, it can't be denied, and they have to defend a hypothesis against basically a quorum of people, 3 peers. And so interesting. I mean, we've never seen this before, but I mean, it seems in keeping with the Vulcan kind of tradition, kind of way. I could see that being a Vulcan thing. Yeah. When you can't get your paper peer reviewed, so you have to get it put in front of a bunch of peers to them to look at it.
Come on, peer review my M drive, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so she calls this, and so obviously the Vulcan president's like, okay, I guess we got to do it. So, and they have the delegates or the quorum to show up there on Discovery, so they don't even go down to Nivar or Vulcan. So, and from there we get what are the 3 people that are there? There's the trying to find their names: Kivar, Tehran, and Shar, and they're basically one
She looks like
Vulcan.
Vulcan Karen.
There's one Vulcan, and then two Romulans, and it looks like they're like one is heavily influenced by Spock and by pure logic, and then the other ones are Romulans, and they all rule different providences against on Navarre.
Yeah.
So she has to come and give her arguments to these people. So which is interesting. Oh, and then on top of it, she gets a representative that's going to be someone who's going to be her advocate, and this person is a Quat Malat, Quat
Malat.
Qwat Malat. Anyways, it's her mother,
It's
Gabriella.
Oh wait, no, it's not. Eleanor, you're older and blacker now.
And she is her mom. She joined a nunnery.
Yeah, it's like after you get to father, no one can replace him.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of cool that she took up this for this story. It works for the story.
I felt it was way too convenient. It does work for the story. Like I love how her mother is about to kick her in the nuts over and over and over again, which was kind of
because they believe in absolute candor, and they are champions of lost causes. So that's why she and we see this in the Picard series. This is where this was first introduced. So they're tying these threads together. It's a little like in-house, story, like connecting. But honestly, it didn't bother me. I was like, okay, it is a little too convenient. I agree.
Yeah, it kind of was like I rolled my eyes. I was like, really?
But I mean, honestly, it's like, okay, this works. And when she sees her mom, obviously she's overjoyed because she mentioned a couple episodes back to Saru that she looked for her mom, and it was one of her goals that she wanted to find her mom again.
Yeah.
In this time period. So when she finds her mom, then she confides in her. A lot of the things that we were talking about last episode, our last podcast, is that, she doesn't, their time away, the year away, she got to rediscover herself away from Starfleet and the Federation. And now that she's back into it, she doesn't know if she fits in anymore.
Yes, and her mother picks up on this instantaneously with little to no conversation.
Yeah, right. It's really interesting.
Is her mom now psychic?
No, but moms know usually. Even though, when's the last time she saw her daughter? When she was like 12.
Technically, like a couple, I guess a year and a half ago, whenever she was ageing out.
I meant the when they really got to. Where she was always with her daughter.
Oh yeah, like around 11 or 12, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Before she was adopted by Sarek. But so yeah, very interesting. And then they convene for their trial, or whatever you want to call it, their big hearing. And this is where the people in Navarre don't feel like they can trust the Federation, that they're going to take this SB-19 information and they're going to just try to replicate and use it to their own advantage. And Michael's like, that's not what we want. We just want to find out what's caused the burn. And then they start questioning her motives of why she wants to. Like, why do you want to do this? And then there's this huge, deep dive through her mom and her beliefs of absolute candor, like what is going on with Michael Burnham. And it's kind of a dressing down, to tell you the truth. I don't know if I would like that if I was in a public situation like that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of humiliating, and I think it's great because Michael Burnham needs many swift kicks to the balls, and her mother just never stops the entire episode. It's kind of great.
Well, I think it was interesting, not because the sadistic side of it is more of interesting that we finally understand what's going on with her. So,
well, it's fleshing her out, and her mother's making her understand what she really does want by getting her to confess how she really feels about things, and what she believes, which is great.
Right. Yeah, and what I really enjoyed about it is that, so first of all, she's like, like, so you just told me, like, just, whatever, 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, that you're not even sure that you have a place in the Federation anymore, in Starfleet. Like, why are you pursuing this? Like, what does it do for you? And she's like, I believe in the Federation. I believe in what it represents. Whether I fit in with it, it's a different story. Like, if I, that's not what's at question here. I want to make the Federation back to what it used to be, or some semblance of what it used to be, that it could help other people. And that's what the Federation is supposed to do. It's supposed to be helping other planets and other civilizations all build to a better place. And finding out what happened with the burn would be hugely important to find out why this happened and what began that. And she doesn't believe that the burn originated at Vulcan. It originated in a different spot. And they really grill her quite a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Although I am going to be a little bit annoyed if she gets the data and it clearly took place somewhere else. Like, why are the Vulcans so bad at science? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it might think they thought they started, but maybe it's something, I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know yet, but
yeah. I'm just fretting for down the line. I'm just like, oh no.
Right. And so she has to confront these truths in what she feels about Starfleet and the future of Starfleet, and how she plays into it, and what does the burn have to do with her? Like, why does she feel like she has to do it? And earlier, she has a moment with her boyfriend, Book, how she I don't know if it was Spock who was saying that she has a messianic complex.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, that kind of plays into it.
Pretty much how she acts.
Yeah, so she's one of these people who feels that she's the only one that can save people and help people, and that she does not lean on other people for any kind of help. She's just like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it alone. And that's her in a nutshell. And it kind of felt like at this point I was like, thank you. These are the things I wanted to know about the character. Am I being crazy for feeling this way? Or is it exactly what it sounds like? Is there more at play? So I felt good about finally
getting a concrete answer.
Yeah, those things being connected finally. All those little things were like, well, what about this? Why is she doing this? Why is it like this? So she ends up saying she calls off to call in Cat, and because she goes, fine,
because they start arguing and they talk about dividing Vulcan, and she's like, I can't let my brother's work go to waste, and so I withdraw my request. I can't let you guys.
I'll find my own data. Fuck y'all. Yeah, kind of thing.
I'll share it with you guys.
Yeah, and this is when later on we find out the president of Vulcan gives her that SB-19 data. She goes, just that alone proved to her.
You know what it looked like? It looked like the data thing that was given to Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One that she sticks in the R2-D2. Just thicker.
That'd be cool if that's what it was.
I mean, because it's like the white, and then it's got like the gold circle in the middle. It reminded me of that.
Later on, Tilly decides, she asks Stamets how he'd feel about it, and he was kind of weird about it. And later she shows up at engineering, and most of the bridge crew and some of the other engineering crew are there, and they're just like, you should just say yes. Just do it. Just do it. I want you to do it. So, and there's even a funny moment where Michael shows up late, and he goes, did I miss the cool say yes moment? And they go, yeah. So, interesting. And so we're going to get Tilly as the number one.
That'll be interesting. I'm excited to see her in a bigger role. I'm hoping this means she'll have a bigger role in the show. I'm excited about that possibility.
Yeah, and from there we get a kind of a goodbye to her mom, and she's like, now you know where you can always find me. So that was good. So she kind of got a thing, and then also Book's like, so you're gonna stay now, because she was thinking about leaving. And she goes, yeah. And he says, what does that mean for you? And Book's like, I don't know. Maybe we'll just hang out in your shuttle bay for a little bit longer.
I mean, hell,
So
Neelix left his ship in the shuttle bay for forever, 6, 7 seasons.
There's a big ship in their shuttle bay, by the way. I don't think they can fit any other shuttles. There's like, could you pull your ship out while we, bring in these other people?
They just start towing his Book ship.
All right. So, and there we go. It's pretty much it from there. We're going to find out what's on the data and move on. Maybe we'll get closer to this burn thing. So, Dave, takeaways from Unification Part 3.
I think this is a definite step in the right direction. It was heavy on the Michael, but they found a way to have other character moments that were really good. It felt a little bit more Star Trek-y. I mean, this was definitely a Michael Burnham episode, but everyone had their stuff going on. We had the B plot with Tilly, and people going on with her. Her trying to figure out if she wants to be that for, number one. And it was nice, and it being a bottle episode. I guess they were in Federation headquarters for like 2 minutes in the opening, but the rest of the time they were just stuck on Discovery in a bottle episode. And I don't know, I feel like bottle episodes sometimes really make them have to stretch and do a better story, and I think they kind of did that here. I definitely think it's super convenient that her mother showed up, just happened to be on Vulcan, and happened to be Co-op Malat, and happened to be her advocate. I mean, it's just so much.
Well, she picked. She picked.
No,
but
I mean,
but it was convenient. She was in that. She joined that religious sect.
Yeah, it's just so convenient.
I like speaking my mind, and I'm going to tell you what I think.
Absolutely. And then I also rolled my eyes at when they're saying goodbye, and she's like, it's you're probably why Spock ended up being the way he did. I'm like, oh, come on, Spock needed Michael Burnham as a crutch early for every good thing he ever did. It just kind of undermines Spock, and we posted a meme in the group this week, and people were very upset that I said Michael does everything, and it's just and people are like, no, Michael doesn't do everything. She doesn't solve everything, and I'm like, close enough. And her mom saying this, it's not only did Michael do everything right, Michael made Spock 100% who we like. No, please. I mean, Spock had lots of things shaping him as a person. It wasn't just his sister making every good thing Spock did was because of his sister. I mean, come on, please.
What'd you think about her watching Spock? I got a little it was kind of interesting because if you think about it, if you saw your brother or sisters, if you were to go to the future and all of a sudden you saw them old or older, it would be very, very emotional. I think I'd be like, how would you not be?
I mean, Sonequa Martin Green is a fantastic actress. She is so many calibers above the writing they do for her character.
I agree.
And her emotions and how she plays it with the line. Even in season 1, I complained about her lines. Her lines are rough, and she does a really good job conveying emotion. And just some of her emotions and her almost half crying a couple times, it got me. I mean, she is a powerful actress. I just wish she had equally powerful dialogue to work with. I just eye roll a lot of her dialogue because it's just really annoying. But her face and her emotions and everything, it sells it, and she is so good, despite the script. I did feel something. I did get a little heartstring pull a little bit, more so than anything else. It's just her, and I think it's mostly from her acting and how good she is and how believable she is as an actor. It's not the script.
Fantastic. Yeah,
it's definitely not the script. It's her, and she's great and amazing.
And they try to make that 3D rendition of Nimoy with it. It just doesn't really work.
Oh yeah, because all their things are 3D, and it was like a 2D plane floating in the sky. I mean, they did the best they could with what they had, I guess. Because they cut out all the background, so it was just his face floating, which was kind of cool. Yeah. But it was fine. I mean, it was to proper effect, I think, and especially since they're naming this Unification III. They just pulled some clips from Unification Part 1 and 2, which was great. I mean, it fits. Other than the just over-convenience of the episode, this was really solid. I think it was a really solid bottle-ish episode. Michael Burnham's drama is hopefully done, and hopefully we can move forward in the rest of the season feel more like a Star Trek series. Because that's most of my complaint. It focuses so much on her, it takes away from the Star Trek feeling of it. And I know they pitched the show as she's the main character, but you can have a main character in a show and still give your other actors screen time and write stories for other actors. It's not like it doesn't take away from her being the main character. Technically, Jon Snow is probably the main character of Game of Thrones. Like once once all the plot's figured out, but you wouldn't know that. I don't know, halfway through the series, probably. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
It's you get all these different characters, right?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It can be done better, I think, and they're working their way to. I think they're finally this season getting a little bit more ensemble-y. Not a lot, but a little bit. How about you, Aaron?
I love this episode. I like the last episode, but this one, this
one wasn't dumb action.
Yeah, the last episode I like the action, the adventure to it. This one I like, just like you said, it's the deep dive with Burnham, but also like Vulcan, Romulan, like how everything kind of worked out in the end. Thousands some years later, and I find it really interesting. I like the idea of Navarre. I like the idea that they're reunified and trying to work things out. And there's still strife, but they're working on it. So I really, really enjoy that. I'd love to see what that planet looks like now and how they're working together.
Is it still just red rocks?
Just red rocks, yeah, exactly. Yeah, or have they put some Roman forums in the middle of it somewhere?
Just like a big statue of titties, like a Nippleopolis.
Yeah, exactly. No, but so that I would like to see that. But that was interesting, and I liked the kind of the cultural thing they put on with the to call Incat, and that was I thought was a cool idea, and I got to give Discovery and their writers credit when they've come up with a good idea. That's a cool vehicle to kind of like give extra for the Vulcan culture. Again, like I said before, there was a lot of questions I had. I was getting really bewildered by Burnham, her character, and the writing they kept on throwing at her for the past couple seasons. Just was like, what's going on? It's like this. I don't know. I'm sure we've all known a person like this amazing person that very good at something or so fantastic in a lot of ways, but they have like some way they just always self-sabotage themselves. Mm-hmm. They'll do something and they'll sink their own ship, or they'll make that mistake that's like that screws everything up. And up until then, they were doing great or doing better than most. And it's like, why do you keep? And so it's like there's some deep psychological reason you keep doing these things. And this is the thing with Michael. It's like I think I'm kind of like connecting all those loose threads finally. First, obviously, Michael's parents, thought to be killed, so she was abandoned and had to be adopted, orphaned, should I say, and had to be adopted by Sarek. So she's a child of two worlds. So she's got a foot in both worlds, but then she's never really part of either one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be weird, no matter what. Like, you're never truly Vulcan. You're never truly human. You never really knew your parents, enough, either side, your human parents, your biological parents, or, your Vulcan parents, even your, strenuous relationship with your brother Spock. So, all that feeds into, then she joins Starfleet because that seems the most logical, practical place for her to be. And she's good at a lot of stuff. She's good at science. She's a woman of action. She can do a lot of things, but there's parts of her that just does not see people as a way to go further her goals. She sees them as an impediment, and she's going to go fix all the things that she thinks needs to be fixed, with or without them. And usually it means without them, because most people aren't going to run at her with her passion towards for something, and most people aren't going to run towards the problem with this energy she's going to put towards it. So she just forgoes. She forgoes Saru last episode. I mean, and Tilly even said this episode, you put me in a terrible position. I can't believe you keep doing this to us. Yeah. So, she's getting kind of like slapped around by her crew now. It's like, you got to knock this shit off. But it makes sense to me finally. And like I said, she has a conversation with Book, and she says, I don't know if she said Spock said she had a messianic complex, but I was like, yeah, okay. It's all kind of like clicking. All the puzzle pieces finally are clicking in place for Michael Burnham for me. I finally get in and figure out, here's why it's unnerving for a guy like me, and maybe like you, Dave, is we grew up with Star Trek with guys like Kirk and Spock, with Picard and Riker, Sisko. I mean, even Janeway. All these people are, yes, they have flaws, but these are well-rounded, and they have a clear notion of what they're doing, and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
There's never a question. Like when Picard, walks onto the bridge, he's there to serve the Federation, to serve, to make sure the people on his ship are safe, and whatever his mission is successful, and does within the Federation's tenets and beliefs. Same way with Janeway, same way with Kirk and Sisko. All these guys, same thing. Well, Sisko, a little shady sometimes, but that's kind of his, shine, right?
Oh yeah.
He'll do things his own way to get to the ends justify the means for him. Pale Moonlight, I'm looking at you, but but I mean, the difference now with Burnham is we get a character that's still being gestated. This character is not completely born yet. Like, she's not, I don't know if she is going to be captain, but she's not captain yet. And where maybe she never will, or maybe this is just like through the kind of the lens of her character, but it finally makes sense to me why it's unnerving to me, because we always got those characters in the past. I mean, hell, even like a character like Harry Kim or Geordi LaForge. Any of those characters, they're not like the highest ranked character, but you know what they believe in.
Yeah, for sure.
She's not sure. She believes in maybe the command structure, or she believes in the idea of the Federation. It's different. Like, I might believe that our military, it does the best for Americans, but I know I would not fit well in the military world. Like, that's not my calling.
Oh yeah, same here.
That kind of thing. So that's where I'm like, maybe that's why I'm always like, what the hell's going on with the character? Now, that too being said, we've talked more and more about she throws herself into all these problems, and she never has like an exit strategy. Where Kirk, Picard, Sisko, Janeway, they always seem to have some type of exit strategy. She just kind of throws herself into a problem, and she says, consequences be damned.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like, those are things that are like different from writing aspect, for character aspect, and that's maybe why I've been for a long time a little like put off by Michael. Again, like, we were discussing offline, is that, I want to see more of the other characters. I want to see more Tilly and Saru and Stamets. I want to see more
Jamino.
Jet, I want a whole episode. I might even want a whole series with Jet Reno as stuff. I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean like Adira, all those characters are great characters. I'd love to see more of them. So let's get more of them in there. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm kind of going towards. I am very I find a little more I find Michael a little more interesting now, but I still want to see more of those characters.
I just hope we finally. I hope with her accepting what.
Yeah, the drama thing has got to start like wrapping up. It's like I can't take much more like tearful like hugs between big events. It's like it gets a little like okay schlocky a little bit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Discovery's been very schlocky since its inception. Unfortunately, I hope they stop with the schlock and get us into like feeling like Star Trek. I mean, we know we can do it. We know they can do it because of Lower Decks. Lower Decks was spot on. Yeah, it was a comedy, but it was smart, and it felt like Star Trek. I mean, brand new characters, and it still felt like Star Trek to me, and that's a huge thing, and that's a lot of my problem with Discovery, is that it just doesn't feel like Star Trek, like how I remember Star Trek being. It doesn't feel like Next Gen. Doesn't feel like anything that any Star Trek that's come before it. Whereas Lower Decks was familiar instantly.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I mean, Mariner was annoying and like such a cartoon character, but everything else around Mariner, it felt right. And
yeah.
I'm still waiting for Discovery to do that. I mean, episode 2 of the season, it felt like a Star Trek episode because they have a problem with the ship. They got to fix the problem with the ship, and they're trying to, do what they can. And they had the saloon, and it was very Star Trek-y feeling. This was a very Star Trek-y feeling episode 2 because we had like the bottle episode, we had a trial. We've had Drumhead, we've had Measure for Man, we've had Unification Part 3. I mean, we've got these trial-y episodes, and like, it was super refreshing to see Michael like give up and be like, fine, I'm not going to cause further destruction. I'm going to, and like, it's just Michael finally became a real person. I think a little bit because before she was like, everything be damned, I'm going to do this, and because it was her brother, I guess she had more of a conscience about destroying his legacy.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she finally has a limit somewhere where she's not willing to destroy everything. She's been very unjust by the means, even more than Cisco has.
Yeah. No, I agree. And she definitely has. Yeah.
She started feeling like a more real character this time, and that is great.
Refreshing.
Definitely a step in the right direction this season. Let's hope they keep it going. Last episode.
I gotta say, Dave, this season the writing is much better.
It's getting
it's
there.
It's more coherent.
The overall is it's getting more coherent. I still think some of the interpersonal dialogue, especially between Michael and other people, is really cringy. At times.
Is there anything that like?
The
point to
the Spock thing that her mother said to her, just her.
Yeah, but that's just a line you don't like.
Yeah, it's. But that's why it's cringy. I don't like it. Things. It make me. When I cringe, it's not because I enjoy something, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. I know what you mean.
So just I don't know. I just feel like when Stamets and Tilly talked, that felt real. Like I felt like Stamets. Like, what really? You're not being promoted, but you're gonna be my senior somehow. I made like in my head that's how I looked. Like when Stamets was like blinking and like opening his eyes and closing his eyes. I'm like, what really? Like I felt that with Stamets. Like their context with their conversation with each other felt good. Stamets and Jet Reno, that feels real. Stamets and Culber, that feels real. Like their, interpersonal dialogues, and when they're in bed or just they're having a romantic moment, those feel more real. But like when Saru and Michael talk, it just gets melodrama-y. And when Michael talks to anyone, it just gets melodrama-y. And that's not the characters. That's not Sonequa Martin Green's fault. It's when they write for her, it's just not great. I feel like it's the same thing with all female leads, like in Star Trek. Because I feel like Janeway had some really bad writing thrown her way. Personally,
Yeah,
I feel like
Janeway in the beginning, especially.
I feel like they just had a hard time writing a female character as a lead, and I feel like that's still an issue in Discovery because everyone else in the show, like I love the way Philippa Georgiou's been written, and her scene with Cronenberg was amazing. Like I all these things like click, and for whatever reason, like I feel like they're still having an issue writing for Michael, and that's why I complain about the writing because it doesn't feel like, and it just feels off compared to everything else.
The thing is, I always felt with like Janeway, and not as much with Michael, but slightly with Michael, is that I think I agree. I think the writers want to do like for Janeway, a female captain, they want to give her the respect and the authority that she's supposed to have as a captain. And so they write her as a really stern, like, brass tacks kind of lady, Mm-hmm. And that works, but it gets a little stiff, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem with Janeway in the beginning. With Michael, they're like, here's a character who's, very brilliant, and yet she's haunted by things she's done in the past, and they just keep on leaning on those things. And it's an interesting start, but now can we like move past it a little bit? Let's get to something where it's like Michael grows out of that. And like I said, after in episode 3, I think, when we find out she's been like a whole year in this universe time frame without Discovery or the Federation, she's happy.
Yeah.
Right? So...
And also Kira was so one-note character, and she didn't feel like she got any nuance until season 5, 6, and 7. Like she finally started getting a little bit more nuanced as the show went on. But she was super one-note for the majority. I'm sure she had episodes where she was nuanced, but for the most part, in the first 4 or 5 seasons, she was just a one-note character. It was really annoying.
And part of it, of course, is like the actor has to get kind of acclimated to that role, and figure out who that character is, and then the writers as well. They've got to kind of like,
And I feel like it's the same. I feel like it's the same thing with Michael. Like when it's and also Dax in DS9. Like she didn't have much of a character. Like when we started our Spotting Dax series, and like we went through her first couple episodes, and like she does almost nothing in a couple of the episodes that are basically about her.
That's her centric. Yeah.
It was just bizarre. Like,
and on top of that, I think that she could. The writers on here, there's got to be far more female writers in the writer room now than there were in the 1960s or even the 1980s. Right?
In the 90s, yeah.
In the 90s, probably. I'm sure that we have more female representation in there. So, like, that's where it kind of gets thrown. Like, why is she still kind of like just like, I'm sure you haven't watched it, but there was a series like back in the early 2000s called Ally McBeal.
I'm familiar with it.
Do you remember?
I never watched it, but there was always previews like before or after Star Trek Next Generation or something.
Yeah,
like that.
So like I would watch it once in a while. It wasn't my favorite, but it was like, and she was always like getting like shit on by some boyfriend or something like that, and in the end she'd always be kind of like coming home to her apartment, and she's kind of just mopey and just sad because some guy was an asshole to her, or things didn't work out the way it should have.
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel like she's kind of got this Ally McBeal emo kind of thing going, Michael.
Yeah.
And that's why I want her to move away from, because I think she's better than that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this episode's definitely a step in the right direction. We're getting more to that Star Trek-y feel, and that's only a good thing. But yeah, I just don't know what it is with female characters and Star Trek writers. Like I said, Kira, Dax, early Dax, early Kira, early Janeway, early Michael. It's just like, why is it so cringy? But everyone else is like got some really great banter between them, especially Jet Reno and Stamets. I mean, just come on, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, and I shit on the writing a lot, which I probably shouldn't. But because Michael is such a focus of the show, the writing for her just sticks out bad. But everything else around her is great.
Maybe because they feel freer to express those characters. And like I said, they feel the pressure that they have to represent that character properly.
Maybe it's just hard to write for her. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like a consistent problem, and that's why I've been really hard on it. But I mean, the writing's not all shit. I mean, like I said, around her, it's great. I love Saru talking to anybody else. Like the dinner scene from Hell was kind of great. Like everyone just kind of like on edge.
Yeah, that was a great episode. That was a great scene.
It was a great scene. Like it's just so awkward because like it's just like let's try to make them happy, and they don't know. He doesn't know how to do it. It's just it was awkward, but it was like purposely that way, and it was kind of great.
Well, and the only thing I could shit about this episode was just that the fact that Michael's mom, Gabriella, is, you know, her advocate. You know, it's a little like
super
to me, it's
convenient.
A little convenient, but I can get past it. I mean, it works well for the story.
It does. It works well for the story because it gets Michael to like it's like extreme parenting because it gets Michael to like stand up and understand.
Oh, sure, you're not around for 15, 20 years, and now you're going to come in and give me parenting advice.
Very public
in front
parenting.
of all these people.
Yeah, it was.
Michael will be you'll be in years of therapy after this.
We need Counselor Troy back. Can we bring her back from the past?
I know, right?
So it was really convenient and like roll your eyes that her mother was her advocate. But the good thing about this is that they don't have to spend an episode looking for her mother and like taking an episode out.
It took care of itself.
Yeah, like it's like what's the lesser of two evils? And this is probably the lesser of the two evils. You know what I mean?
I know. It's funny.
It's like we don't have to waste an episode because I mean the episode in season 1 they waste the entire episode to like regrow the spores. It's like you created a problem just to waste an episode to solve the problem that you didn't need to set up, you know? And so like, you know, we've lost Michael's mom and like I was kind of shocked they barely mentioned it. It was mentioned twice up until this point, and all of a sudden there she is. It's like, oh man, that's so convenient. Oh my god, it's so dumb. And it's like, oh wait, this is actually great. We don't have to waste an episode of them going to like specifically look for her like stranded on a planet. This is great. So we can move the plot forward. So I mean, I'll take this over wasting an episode going to find her.
Interesting. Also, I just found out that Navarre was a name for a Vulcan ship in Enterprise Shadows of Pajem. And it was Navarre was a term coined in 1967 by Dorothy Jones, who wrote a series of Star Trek stories and fanzines called T Negative.
Interesting.
Cool.
Retro Vulcan name for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It has some deep meaning. I don't know what it was, but they don't really tell you. But it says it literally means two forms in art. And it was an art form practiced by Vulcan, which subject an example of two different viewpoints, or in terms of having two different aspects of nature.
That's perfect. What a great name for the Romulans and Vulcans sharing a planet again.
Very cool. Very happy to learn that. And like I said, I love Vulcan. I love Vulcans, but I always found the name a little weird. So
kind of convenient.
I can get behind Navarre for sure.
A Vulcan sounding name.
Yes. Anything else we want to say before we wrap this up?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, guys, if there's something further that you think that we missed or that we are misrepresenting or we're not saying correctly, please throw us an email at synthaholics@yahoo.com. You can also hit us up on our group, Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/Synthaholics. And you can hit us up on Twitter at Synthaholics Duo is our handle there. And if the show's something you want to support, please go to our Patreon, Patreon.com/Synthaholics. All right, Dave, next week we're going to get further into the burn, I'm sure.
Sounds good.
All right. Until then, guys, live long and prosper, one and all.
Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink. best drinking friend.